Welcome back, listeners and viewers, to another week in education, the Teachers Talk You Tear podcast, where myself, Mike,
and myself, Courtney,
are back. It is our post-Christmas episode. We did choose a Christmas movie to record, and of course, Christmas always gets in the way, so we haven't launched it yet. This will be our post-Christmas episode, and we chose to watch the Christmas-themed Terrifier 3, the newest, as of earlier this year, Damien Leone, or Leone, or whatever, sequel, or trilogy, however you want to view it, to his smash indie hit Terrifier. So it's a Christmas movie, and we started to really get the wheels going before we hit record. And so we have covered the first two movies in this series, and they are definitely known for their practical effects and gore.
Yes.
If you're watching the Terrifier movies for a plot, comment down below what that plot actually is, because
we didn't know.
there are connections now. I mean, we have recurring characters,
right? So
we have some storyline with them, but at no point do we, at least I, understand the 5 W's of art. Why art? Who is art? When, there's no backstory to Art the Clown, which is fine. He is slowly creeping his way into that horror pantheon of your Freddy, your Jason, your Michael Myers. He is definitely the closest this generation has to one of those figures.
Yes. When some teachers and I went to Vegas last year, and there was this group of serial killers and down on the strip, and I was like, it's Art the Clown, and I took his horn and I beeped it. So one of those teachers and her kid had just gotten me a Christmas ornament, and it was Art the Clown. Well, she brought it to me at school, and I teach kindergarten, for those of you that don't know.
Yeah.
And one of my kids was like, "It's Art the Clown. I love Art the Clown."
No.
And I'm just like, "You're
man.
5.
Yeah, come on, parents.
You're 5.
Do better. These are movies. They are going to be around. That's one of the beauties of recorded media. Songs, TV shows, music. Obviously songs and music will be the same thing. Movies, like video games, recorded media is going to be around. This isn't the old days where if you didn't see it in the theater, you're out of luck.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking, I was probably scared of Casper the Ghost at that age.
That's Art the Clown. That's kind of... But you know what? Every generation goes through it.
Yeah, and this little kid, they love all things scary.
I remember in the late 80s, Freddy Krueger debuted with Nightmare on Elm Street in the mid 80s, and so they were knocking out sequels. And by the time 80s turned into 90s, Freddy Krueger, again, a murdered child molester, was the hottest Halloween costume on kids.
Yeah.
This is a man whose movies are built around he was molesting and murdering children, and so the parents of Elm Street murdered him, and kids are like, I want to be Freddy for Halloween.
Yeah. So it's just like Pennywise. Everybody wants to be Pennywise for Halloween. Yeah.
And so Art the Clown. The difference, though, is that Nightmare on Elm Street was a massive hit, and was pumping out sequels all the time, and a much smaller entertainment market to where you couldn't avoid Freddy Krueger. Same with it. I mean, we're based on a novel that is decades old, written by the greatest horror writer of all time, Stephen King. So it's like Pennywise is going to have, he's going to have that exposure. Art's still kind of an indie guy.
Yeah.
The budget of this movie, the budget of this movie is $2 million, which is the largest budget for a Terrifier movie. $2 million in today's filmmaking economy is peanuts.
Yeah.
But again, it grossed $89 million. It made 45 times its money. So will there be a Terrifier 4? Yeah. There
will be.
Why not? Especially when it makes buttloads of money and you don't really have to have much of a plot. Like,
no, and you don't need that many characters
no.
either. Like,
especially when you keep bringing it back.
yeah.
So anyway, to the movie, we kick off with a extremely controversial opening bit that has no play at all with the plot of the film, like zero. This cold open of Art coming into this house as Santa.
Yeah,
Go for it.
I looked at Casey and I was like, okay, like this movie just started off like killing 2 children. What? I am just like mind blown. Like he walks in dressed as Santa.
Yep.
Goes upstairs. The little girl, you know, has been out of her bedroom. She thought she saw Santa. She went to go follow him. He goes in, hacks up her brother.
Mm-hmm.
Heads into mom and dad's room. I love, like, this is me as a mom. Like, this is how deep I sleep. Like, Casey, my husband, sometimes will be like, did you not hear Pedro who's up all night barking? I'm like, no, I didn't. Like, I was snoring and I heard nothing. Like, the husband is getting brutally just chopped to bits next to her. And she's just like passed out, catching some Z's. And I'm just like, yeah, that's me. Like, and Casey sleeps close to the door. So I'm like, Casey will be the one to go first. And I'll just be sleeping through it. But then he goes downstairs and, you know, has his cookies, his milk, everything that Santa does, and then hears this noise and finds the little girl, and it's just there.
Yeah.
Like, we don't know if he takes we're just left to imagine.
I wouldn't be surprised at all if this was the director trying to push the envelope. Like, let's get the people out of the theater that don't want to be here.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, you think you can stomach some gore? Well, here's what we're going to start with. And if you can handle this, then you'll be fine for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, because, like, mom goes in and, like, finds brother just insides out.
Yep.
Like.
Yeah. It's a no-no. It's a big no-no in Hollywood. You don't kill kids.
Yeah.
They can die, but it better be to move the plot forward.
Yes.
Otherwise, you don't kill kids. And you definitely don't show kids being killed.
Yeah.
Which is why horror movies, especially that do those things, become known for those things.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's such a obviously controversial thing to do.
Yeah.
Now, were there any kids killed in this movie? Of course not. Like, it's all special effects. But these movies are built to be illusions of watching something. So it didn't surprise me coming from Art the Clown in his third movie.
Right. No.
I think Art the Clown does something like this in his first movie. You don't have Terrifier 2. You know, like, it's just enough of, like, nobody wants to touch the filmmaker who just murdered a kid on camera. You know, like, so that opening Santa Claus scene had nothing to do with the film.
Right.
As a matter of fact,
it didn't. Like, I was actually at the end, I'm like, did I miss something?
No.
Like, is that girl, like, what? Did I miss? No, it was literally just, here's art, here's gore. All right, now 5 years earlier.
Yeah, exactly. Because I was just going to go there. As a matter of fact, the rest of the movie starts 5 years earlier. Like, this isn't even where we're at. So we do kick off the actual movie where we left off in Terrifier 2. Art has been decapitated. Victoria, who is the survivor of Terrifier 1, who had her face eaten off, still grotesque as ever.
Yeah.
But in Terrifier 2, she became possessed by the little girl, the little Art girl, like the little demon girl.
Yeah.
So she's still alive, but it's not really her. And at the end of Terrifier 2, possessed Victoria, is pregnant and gives birth to Art's head that had been decapitated off of his body in a whole nother location. You follow me?
Yeah, and like Casey watched this one, like I had told you pre-show, like he watched this one with me, so he's like, wait, what? So
Yeah,
I'm
you're
trying,
yeah,
I'm trying to explain everything, and then I just look at them like, it literally, like, anything can happen in these movies,
yeah.
Casey.
That,
Like,
yeah.
just,
Don't try too hard.
yeah, like, you'll just
Um,
have to watch the first two to understand semi
so yeah,
anything.
the cops find Art's body in that abandoned warehouse. The decapitated body stands up and kills the cops before making its way to the insane asylum or wherever Victoria is being held, so that Art can reattach his head to his body.
But I like how Art took the cop's head first and
Yeah,
like put it on him,
Gets
like
on the train.
Like,
yeah, it was cute. There was some. Art is funny. I will give him that.
He is.
Yeah, you could tell. I think I read somewhere that the actor David Howard Thornton is like trained in mime,
and he does so good.
It really does show through. He gives off a lot of expression, especially being under paint.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he gives off a lot of expression through Art's character. So yeah, so now we're back to Art is complete again. Victoria is there, and we fast forward 5 years. Okay, is that right?
Yeah,
I think so. What Art's been doing in those 5 years, I don't know. Oh wait, yeah, I do, because it showed. It showed. Art and Victoria go to some house and wait.
Yes. Yeah.
That's right. I forgot. He's like sits in a rocking chair. She sits on the floor. It's just this old rundown.
Yeah.
And they just wait.
For 5 years.
For 5 years. Sienna gets released from the mental health center that she's staying at. Of course, her mother was killed in the part 2. So Sienna gets released to her aunt and uncle, Jess and Greg. And they have a cousin, she has a cousin, Gabby, who absolutely loves Sienna, but doesn't really know where she's been for the last 5 years or why she's been there. The brother is in college now, all played by the same cast again, which is kind of cool. But again, I don't think these people have a whole lot going on.
No.
But Sienna is stricken with a lot of guilt because, again, it was only she and her brother that pretty much survived Terrifier 2. Including Art being dead because she chopped his head off. So she doesn't know anything else yet because really nothing else has happened. It's been 5 years. But she does start to have these hallucinations. She does actually a pretty good job of controlling them. You know, she's sitting at the dinner table. There's one pretty uncomfortable scene is like uncomfortable for me because her friend Brooke, who we saw just get massacred in a very extended scene in Terrifier 2. Brooke is all gnarly.
Yeah.
But what made this scene uncomfortable for me is Sienna's sitting there as Brooke is sitting right next to Gabby at the dinner table. And of course, we know it's a hallucination of Brooke, but on set, that little girl actress is sitting right next to this like bloody,
disgusting,
mutilated, screaming, violent obscenities right next to this little girl.
Yeah.
On set.
And Gabby's like unfazed by,
because she doesn't hear it.
Right,
like she doesn't hear it. But it's like with that little girl being her age, her parents were on set, so they're watching all of it. It's like that's just the stupid filmmaker mind of mine that I peel back and I'm like, I can't believe they just subjected that little girl to this. You know, that's one where you get her off set, film the scene, but nope, they left her right there. Yeah, she feels responsible for Brooke's death. I don't remember what led to Brooke's death other than Art killing her, but that doesn't matter. And so, you know, Sienna's having a rough time. She's having a rough time.
I mean, she anyone in that position would.
She definitely feels love.
Yeah.
But she's having a rough time. Mm-hmm. Trying to connect with Jonathan, her brother. He's in college. He's got a roommate. That honestly... Was it Cole, I think is his name?
Yeah.
He's not bad.
As much of like a frat guy that Cole is, he also is like, I feel like kind of down to earth.
He cared about Jonathan. Yeah, Mia. Like she's
annoying.
Well, she's got like a true crime podcast.
Yeah.
And once she finds out that, and again, it's been 5 years, you know who this kid is.
Right.
once she finds out that Cole's roommate is Jonathan, who survived the Art the Clown murders, all she wants is to get him on the podcast. And then all she wants is to get his sister Sienna on the podcast.
Yeah. And Cole's like, no, like,
right, like,
we're
leave
not
him alone.
doing this.
Yeah, we're not doing it. So Cole's actually pretty cool. Mia's obnoxious, but let's not kid ourselves. They're just there for the body count.
Yes.
Like in a movie like this, if you meet a character that gets a name, they're probably going to get killed. And so 5 years, again, have passed. Art and Victoria are still in that house. And it's been decided they're going to destroy the house.
Like, so we've got these like
demo workers,
city workers, heading in, and just going through. You know, well, one heads upstairs to make sure. I guess just to make sure, like, no squatters are there.
Squatters or whatever, which makes sense. Which there are squatters in there. It's Art and Victoria.
And so one heads upstairs, finds this thing sitting in a chair, goes over like, hey man, like, you alive? Like, what's going on? The other finds this body in the bathtub, and he goes to like take a picture of it, and Art and Victoria wake up from their 5-year sleep covered in cobwebs and slush, and head out like
kill these two guys. And Victoria stays back because she's working on a costume of some sort.
Because they had come across another Art impersonator on the train.
That's right.
And so Art had taken his costume, and so now his dirty costume, Victoria is going to try and make a little outfit out of it.
And Art's going to go killing.
So he heads to the bar because
he goes by a bar.
The bar.
And he sees
he sees Santa, and he's so cute, like.
Yeah, he sees Santa sitting at the bar. Of course, it's just some dude, you know.
Yeah.
But he does. He gets very giddy.
This scene, I don't know, like, this scene cracked me up. Like,
it was a fun scene. I'll give you that.
I just heads in, like, he's so excited, like, pointing to Santa, pointing to him. Like,
because he's just miming everything. Right.
And
Santa leans into it. He's like, that's me, you know, ho, ho, ho. And it's just...
then Art sits on his lap.
Yeah, things get real uncomfortable.
And this is where it starts to go downhill. Like, he pees on Santa's lap, and Santa's like, "Dude, you creepo! Like, get the heck out of here!" Like, they're throwing him out. Well, they throw out his sack of tricks, and that was, I mean, that was a mistake that happened in Terrifier 1 too. Yeah. Like, just throw Art out. Don't throw a sack of tricks out, because. Here he comes back in, and I said this to Casey, I'm like, when he got the gun, I was like, are you kidding me? Like, and he just shoots these people. Like, no.
Well, that's what we talked about pre-show. Is Art is known, Damien Leone is known, these Terrifier movies are known for their just extreme gore.
Yes.
They're extremely long, gory scenes to where there's some torture involved, but honestly, by the time Art is done with his craft, these people are long dead. Like, nobody's still alive as he's still doing these things. So what we're left to in most of the scenes in the Terrifier franchise are Art just being graphic for the sake of graphic. Like, the person's long gone, and he's still just going to town. So it's just extended gore scenes. But like I mentioned beforehand, and we'll touch base on it here again in a few, if you are a horror villain, one of the biggest things, and I saw this in a documentary somewhere, horror movies a lot of times are synonymous with sex. Now, the Terrifying movies thus far have not really been. We do get a scene later on. But when you're talking about your Freddy, your Jason, your Michael Myers, it's this big, if you're, premarital sex is wrong. And of course, sex involves penetration. And so that's where a lot of horror movie icons are well known, is a lot of their kills involve penetration. You're stabbed with a knife, you're stabbed with a machete, you're stabbed with an axe, there's some sort of penetration going on. And it's not instant death a lot of times. There is extreme violence in a way that we as humans aren't used to seeing. I don't know anybody who who's had their leg chopped off by a machete. I don't
Right.
know anybody who's who's been stabbed in the heart with 4 knives. Like, those are the things, and I think that's the fantasy world of horror films. They take that element of hard work, because honestly, stabbing someone to death, chopping someone up is work. Shooting people's not work.
Right. No, like anyone can just go do that.
It's quick.
Mm-hmm.
It's usually fatal, and it's anticlimactic.
Yeah.
And so Michael Myers never uses a gun. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just too easy. Freddy, Jason, Candyman, Pinhead, Pennywise, Chucky, Jigsaw. It's not inventive.
Yeah.
It's not penetrative. Yes, the bullet penetrates, but it's so fast you don't see the penetration. So I'm with you 100%. When Art reaches into his bag of goodies and pulls out a handgun,
Yeah.
you aren't, to me, you're not a horror monster anymore. You're a realistic monster.
Yeah.
That use of a handgun to kill people, that happens all the time.
And if it would have been it would be different, I feel like, if you shot them in the leg and then tortured them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, immobilize them, sure.
Right.
But
yeah.
like,
since it is like 3-on-1 here at this bar scene, but I'm like, also I'm just like, why? Like, why do you have this gun?
Yeah. Like, I agree. Like, we get localized news of shootings all the time. Those localized shootings are not national news. Now, several years ago, when a guy all tripped out on meth was caught naked on the freeway in Miami chewing another man's face off, that was national news. Why?
Yes.
Because that type of violence was horror movie violence.
Yeah.
That was not everyday violence. When we get those, there was a story, I think it was Canada, there was a bus traveling through Canada long distance, and a man on the bus, it's terrifying to even think about, pulls a machete out of his coat and starts going to town on the guy next to him, eventually decapitating him. The bus driver pulls over, everybody evacuates the bus. It's just the man, the dead body, as they wait for police to arrive. And it was still a multi-hour standoff as this guy is like parading around this man's head.
Yeah.
That is horror movie stuff.
Yeah.
That's why it becomes national news. I was shocked, because here we are coming up at the end of 2024. I was shocked to see, I wasn't shocked to see how many school shootings there's been this year, but I was shocked that I hadn't heard about it more.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because school shootings they're not normal. It's boring news anymore.
Exactly. Which is terrifying.
It is. It's scary. But unless a certain number of people have been killed, or a certain age of children has been killed,
then
it's
they
not
don't
news.
talk about it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 3 people shot in high school. Okay, that was Tuesday.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Yeah.
So I'm with you on this. Art pulls out a gun. It's boring.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
He does torture Santa a little bit. I will say that, because Santa didn't die by the gunshot.
No, he shot Clint Howard with the gun.
Yeah.
I know you don't know who Clint Howard is.
The other drinking guy.
Yeah. Okay. So, are you familiar with the show Happy Days? Have you heard of it?
Yeah.
With Fonzie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Ron Howard Ron Howard was also the little boy Opie Taylor on the Andrew Griffith Show.
Okay.
Okay. So Ron Howard was on the Andy Griffith Show. Ron Howard was on Happy Days. Ron Howard then grew up to be like a major Hollywood director. The actress Bryce Dallas Howard, you heard of her? She was the redhead in the Jurassic World movies.
Okay.
Okay, that's Ron Howard's daughter. Okay. Ron Howard directed a lot of big movies. Ron Howard filmography here. We're not going to take up too much time with this, but I'm just trying to get to where let's see. Ron Howard directed Willow, movies you may not know. But he has won an Academy Award for Best Director, Best Picture. He directed a lot of kind of drama. He directed Apollo 13. He directed the Jim Carrey How the Grinch Stole Christmas. So he had directed the Da Vinci Code. So like he's made some big time stuff. Long story short, Clint Howard is Ron Howard's like lesser brother. Clint Howard has had he's had a very successful Hollywood career.
But he's like the other Tucker and John Tucker Must Die.
Yes. Clint Howard has got a pretty long filmography. A lot of it as my brother cast me in his movie. But he's also made a lot of horror films, Clint Howard, and a lot of real fun ones. Not good, just fun and dumb. So to see Clint Howard in this movie, when you're like a horror fan like I am that have seen a lot of stupid stuff, therefore you've seen a lot of Clint Howard, you're like, hey, it's Clint Howard. That's about the extent of it. But yeah, I think I've given more time in this segment of the podcast than Clint Howard actually had the movie. But yeah, Santa shot Clint Howard in the head. And then again, just I think the scene we got at the very beginning of the movie
this is where it fits in now.
Probably slides in here.
Yeah, this is yes.
I would say so.
Yeah.
And so we get a little bit of out of sequence, but we get some it's killing of kids or whatever.
Yeah. And then he heads to the mall
to the mall
Santa.
Right.
And let me tell you, he's the best Santa ever because he's giving these kids presents and like all of their parents are so disassociated. I feel like they're literally all on their phone. And like, I'm sorry, even if I were on my phone, this part of the movie did kind of bother me because it's like, even if I was on my phone, I would notice if my kid walked away. Yeah.
Yeah. And all of them.
Yeah. They're all just running to Santa and then, he gets kicked out.
Well, and on top of it, like Santa and his elf went on break and then Art steps in, which of course, even in a Santa outfit, Art's pretty creepy looking. And he's covered in blood. And these kids are like, well, we don't care. It's Santa. I'm like, again, every kid runs up there. No, some kid would have been hesitant. Every parent is checked out. Nah, somebody would have paid attention. Like, I get, there's a lot of, you got to really suspend your belief here quite a bit. So, Santa then, or Art as Santa. It's, again, one of those, like getting the gun out, Art just basically blows up the mall.
And for people who don't watch horror movies, like I've said, like my husband watches with me and he is scared to death of these things. Like the kid's unwrapping the present and he's like, what's it going to be, Mommy? I wonder what's in it. In case he's like, it's a bomb. Yeah. Oh yeah. It's very predictable. And I was like, yeah, it's either a bomb or it's like a dead person's head. Right. Like it's one of the, like, now with Art, of the two. With Art, I actually was there's a head. I was too. So I was disappointed by the bomb because again, the gun, there's no drama during a bomb. Like it just took out multiple bodies. Like I was thinking, oh, this is going to be Santa's head with that would have been great. Ripped off, like the guy, even the guy backstage that just went on break. That would have been a perfect time to be like, here, kid, here's Santa's head. Yeah. No. So that's what I was thinking. He's like, bomb. I'm like, a head. Yeah. And then it blows off and he's like, I'm like, okay, well, you don't know the first two Terrifier movies. Right. So you are which, basic. To be fair, it's like at this point, we've really, Casey had only seen him kill somebody with a gun. Yeah. So Sienna happens to be at that mall. Yeah. Yeah. Thank goodness she just left. Well, in Sienna, again, they do a good job of establishing that she has these hallucinations early before she goes to the mall. Because then when she sees Art at the mall, she thinks it's another hallucination. Fair, like you cut his head off. But
she doesn't say anything to her family because naturally she doesn't think they're going to believe her, because she's also not quite sure herself until the mall explodes. And then she's like, uh-oh. Like,
yeah.
it's this, you know, it's,
Yeah,
he's
like
back.
he's back.
He's back.
Yeah. And this is where, like, Uncle Greg's like, she's unstable.
Yeah. Oh.
She can't.
Yeah, we can't have her around Gabby. We can't.
No.
Like, dude, you're the one that brought her home.
Yes. And so thankfully, pause. I'm sorry. Pause. Yep. I can't. Casey's like, I got to get in to get my clothes. And I'm like, well, then crawl. And I can't be serious with him, like, crawling behind me.
Fair enough.
I'm sorry. Are you and Carl matching again?
We didn't mean to match yesterday. It was not on purpose.
Dude, come on. That shirt looks perfect. I don't think he's ever taken this long to pick his clothes out.
It's all right.
You have your shoes?
You got all day.
No, he works. You have your shoes?
Yes, they're out there.
Okay.
I think.
You think?
We'll see.
Okay. All right. Yeah, so this is where Uncle Greg's like, she's unstable.
Right.
We don't want Gabby around her. And the aunt finally is like, she's kind of been pushing it off, but she's like, yeah, like, we got to call the brother. Like, your sister is unwell.
Right. So we're going to pass your older sister off onto you at college. Yeah. Luckily, Sienna's already going to see Jonathan at College University.
Yeah.
Wherever he's going to school. And, of course, she's out, like, she's having dinner with Jonathan. Well, this is where Cole and his roommate come across, and she starts freaking out. Oh, my God, it's you. It's Sienna. I want to get you on my show. And, of course, Sienna's just like, yeah, you need to get out of here.
Yeah, and Sienna, like, lashes out. And then Mia's just like, I don't understand why she did that. And, like, Cole was like, you're being insensitive.
Yeah, like, these people went through this, like, life-changing massacre. And you're like, I need numbers.
Tell me details. Like, and so this frat that Cole and Jonathan live in, it's getting ready for a big Christmas party. And so, like, the scene where we get is, like, Mia and Cole, like, talking, and the Terror of Art has come in.
Right.
And he's just, like, listening. And I like his facial through the whole...
Oh, yeah.
All the movies, like, his facial expressions just make it, like, but it's like, she's like, I wonder what it's like to, like, look into his eyes, and, like, Art's, like, in the background, like, ooh, like, you know, just getting excited, and she's like, I'll make it worth your while if you just give me 10 minutes, you know,
right,
like,
you know, she's
seducing
totally
him, like,
trying to get Cole to get Jonathan to get Sienna on the show.
Yeah, and, like, I don't know. I really like.
You got a crush on Art.
I do. I have a crush on his facial expressions. It's so funny. And she does too. Like, she's just like, I just want to know what it's like to, I don't know, that whole part. I'm just like, okay, whatever. So we flash forward and we kind of skim over how Jonathan,
I really don't know why Jonathan was in the movie.
Yeah, I don't either.
Other than just to give his character some finality, but really, he didn't bring anything to the movie other than just giving Sienna other things to do.
Yeah, because, like, this part is, like, I feel like the biggest part that he was in, and Sienna's like, listen, Jonathan, I think he's still alive. Like, he wrote me this letter.
Right. About demons.
And then that's it. And then we go to the shower scene where...
Well, she also tells Jonathan that I need to go get Dad's sword because Dad believed in me. He gifted me this sword. I killed him once with it. Yada yada yada. But it's still Jonathan's just like okay. Yeah. But yeah, then we get a shower scene.
Yeah, and Mia's making it up to Cole, you know, her 10 minutes that she promised Cole, and Art comes out with a chainsaw, just hacking them to pieces.
Multiple pieces, yeah.
Ugh. Yeah.
Mia didn't last long. Cole didn't either, but Cole got a much more elaborate graphic scene as we got to get to see it from an angle I don't think I've ever seen on a movie before.
Right, no.
But really, it was just the same kill from part 1.
Right, but on
where they hung the girl up for her ankles and split her down the middle. It was the same kill, only he was laying on the ground.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
so now Sienna's like put all this stuff together. They're like, you've got to come home. So
because she saw on TV about the mall killings, which then defined I wasn't hallucinating. It was Art.
So Greg goes to get Jonathan.
Right.
Picks him up from school. We just assume like Jonathan comes out, Sienna goes to sleep, she takes some sleeping pills, whatever.
Yeah.
And
because that's what I would do if I fear for my life. I would make sure I drug not only sleep, but drug myself.
Yeah.
To sleep.
Has this dream about her dad.
Right.
You know,
they're trying. They're trying to create a plot line here.
They are.
But
it's just not.
It's not.
Yeah. And she wakes up to hear her aunt and uncle downstairs discussing like what they're gonna do about her.
Right.
And because she is like, her mental health is deteriorating and she's just not stable enough to be in the house, I feel like.
Right.
And
they've
got
really,
a kid to worry about.
Was it really her aunt and uncle talking about it though?
No.
Sienna comes into the room and finds Art and Victoria.
Yeah, and Greg has been decapitated.
Yeah, Uncle Greg.
Yeah, and he's hung up on the wall.
Yeah, pinned it.
Yeah, and little ho ho ho.
Yeah,
is, you know, just they decorated him, and they're decorating the tree with his insides. And Sienna like goes after them, but Art hits her with a mallet and she's wakes up tied up.
Right. Yeah. Knocks her out because this is a cartoon.
Yeah.
And you carry around all the weapons you need and then you use them when you need them. Like he hits her over the head with a mallet. And
he's got his bag of tricks.
He does. And they do the job. Like,
yeah.
He didn't cause any brain injuries or anything. No. He just knocked her unconscious.
Yep. Her, as she wakes up, like her and Jess are like looking at each other, tied, you know. Greg's head is the star on the Christmas tree.
Yeah, so they knocked her out and then continued decorating with Greg's body. Yeah.
And then like Jess, the Aunt Jess is like, "Where's my daughter? Like, what'd you do with my daughter?" And she opens up.
Yeah.
This thing that had been covered, and it's like this little bird
almost
cage.
like a serving, like a serving dish to where she, you know, like they do in on like hotels, room service. You unveil it, and it's this pretty gnarly looking head.
And the rats have had their way with it, and they're still having their way with it.
Right.
And this is the most disgusting.
Well, they tell, like Victoria tells Jess that, "Where's my daughter?" Here's Gabby.
Here she is.
So it was Gabby's head. But then we get
this.
Yeah, I actually read in the trivia that this scene was even too much for David Howard Thornton.
This was a lot. Like I just Like,
There's been a lot of rats in this movie.
yeah, there has been. And
real rats, not CGI rats.
And I'm not saying that, like, oh, to, cut someone's wiener off and then just cut up their body, like, that's not too much for me because that's gross. But watching this get done,
Yeah.
like, they took a tube to Jess
Right.
and hammered it into her throat, like, dislodging her jaw and
Right.
everything. And then they're just forcing rats
Yes.
from that have been eating her daughter.
Yeah.
At the moment, like, her face,
eating this
like
head.
they're shoving it down, and
then,
like she's
lighting a flame behind it to force it to go down into the tube, which then goes down into her throat.
Yeah.
Again,
and I'm just
she's
like,
alive.
Oh. Yeah.
Jess is alive while this is happening.
She is alive until the rat gets down to her throat and they just slit her throat open,
so that the rats crawl out of the throat slit.
Yeah. No.
So Jess is dead.
Yeah.
Only then does Art come into the room with Gabby.
Mm-hmm.
Which, of course, Sienna's watched all this with Jess. She's like literally facing her in another chair as she's tied up. So then they bring Gabby out, which, of course, they had just said that head was Gabby's head.
Yeah.
So we already like sucker punched Jess right before murdering her that's your daughter's head. After she's dead, they bring Gabby out and then reveal to Sienna, just kidding, that's Jonathan's head.
And they put it up on the mantle as a little decor with his glasses on it.
Yeah.
And that's how she has to like put two and two together. And it's like, oh my gosh.
Right. Now, this movie tried, like I mentioned earlier, they're trying a plot line. But here's the problem I have with part 2 did it too. Part 3 continues it. What they provide as entertainment in this film is carnage and gore.
Mm-hmm.
Which is there's no thought behind it. It's an extremely simple form of entertainment. If you are into creative carnage and gore, then this is going to scratch your itch. But what they try to do with a plot line, to me, is so elevated above carnage and gore that they don't go together.
Yeah.
We've got this plot line through the last 2 movies of it's borderline religious.
Yeah.
In a sense that there's demons and angels and heaven and hell and it's like, but that to me anyway, it doesn't mesh with carnage and gore. When we have kill scene, murder, blood, gore, and then it's like, now we're going to take a step back, and you are now going to try to tell me that we have introduced demonic possession into this movie about carnage and gore. And there's a certain set of criteria that needs to be in place for demonic possession to occur, while it's like they put a crown of thorns on Sienna's head and then trying to possess her because they want to pass.
Okay, this is where the movie lost me.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Is
the moment the possession came out and like they're like holding on to each other and their eyes are turning different colors and it looks so. I told Casey, I said, no, this ruins it for me.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. You have just set the stage for hey, carnage and gore fans, this is the franchise for you. You can't have both. You can't also be like, hey, those of you into religious horror, come check us out too. It doesn't work. The reason it doesn't work is because carnage and gore are not commonplace in your religious horror films.
Yeah.
And religious horror elements like demonic possession are not commonplace in your carnage and gore films.
Right. Like
when they try and happen, it doesn't work.
Yes.
It just doesn't work.
And I was
especially when you're going to apply a religious backing to it. Now, Jason Goes to Hell the Final Friday, which wasn't the Final Friday, by the way. But that movie, Jason really isn't the killer through most of that movie. Spoiler alert, they kill him at the beginning, then the coroner eats his heart. And by eating his heart, he becomes possessed with the spirit of Jason, but it's not a religious thing.
Okay, I was gonna say that's fine. Like,
yeah, it's goofy and it's dumb. But it's not a demon possession crown of, like, there's so much religious, like, in just ideology going on here.
Yeah. And I was okay with, in the end of the movie, like, she gave birth to Art's head. You know what I mean? Like,
right, because it's just dumb.
Like there, you know, you watch movies where, like, one person dies and, like, a serial killer dies at the same moment, like a newborn is born, and, like, they say, you know, like, that newborn takes on the spirit of
reincarnation kind of
like,
thing.
Whatever. Okay, that happened with Art. It is what it is.
But they weren't talking about reincarnation with Art. They just were, hey, he's not dead, folks. We chopped his head off, but then Victoria gave birth to his head. Like the little girl Art in part 2, they referred to her as a demon, but there wasn't any of this religion.
Right. Like her
push.
eyes didn't glow.
Right.
It was the moment where Victoria's eyes started glowing.
Yeah.
That I was like, this is stupid.
Like, where are you going with this?
No. And I recently read a book that had, like, paranormal, like, you know, stuff come out of and I'm just like, no, like, this ruins it. Like, so the last, like, 20, 30 minutes of this movie, however long this was, I was just like, okay, this is whatever.
It is. It's just, you played a certain game all throughout this film. And if you want to bring in guns and bombs into Art, whatever, but you played a certain game all through this film. And then here at the end, it's like, well, we're going to now deliver a plot. We're going to have Victoria possess Sienna, but she can't possess her because her will is not yet broken. We're talking about wills and possess.
Yeah.
It's like, what? This is like Rosemary's Baby kind of stuff.
Yeah, It just ruined it.
It did. So Victoria, you know, tells Sienna to open the Christmas gift from Gabby. Now, Sienna doesn't know what it is. No, Sienna does know what it is. But Gabby knew because Gabby snooped.
Yes, because Gabby can't leave anything alone.
No, she's
which
gotta snoop.
I get, she's at that age.
Right.
But, like, earlier in the movie, like, you know, Sienna had kept her diary from being locked up, and she told Gabby, like, do not look at this.
Yeah, so Victoria doesn't know what's in the gift, but Gabby does, and Sienna does. And so it's Sienna's sword from part 2. So Sienna breaks free. She's got the sword. She cuts Art's throat. She cuts Victoria's head off. She goes whole hog on Art. She's still like impales him to the wall with the sword. But like Victoria's head's been cut off. But again, Victoria is actually not Victoria. She's the demon possession of the little girl from part 2. So her blood basically melts through the floor, creating a portal to hell. So hell was right underneath their living room floor. Gabby falls. So Sienna abandons killing Art to go save Gabby. She can't save her. She tries by handing her the sword. Grab the sword. You know, and she did. She handed her the hilt of the sword as she's trying to hold on to the blade. Use the fireplace poker. Like, something without a blade to it. Gabby falls into the portal of hell. Art then jumps through a window, apparently.
Right. Yeah, because he's just MIA.
Yeah, and then we see him just getting on a bus. Apparently he's had enough of this town.
And meanwhile, like, there's only the bus driver and the girl's like reading this book about hauntings, like, oh my gosh, like all of that, you know, bloody, gory stuff. And the bus driver's like, that stuff's not for me. I like rom-com.
Right, yeah.
And then this
Art
like
gets on the bus.
Sad clown gets on, and the lady's just like looking at him. And then you get one more like from Art, and
Sienna, again, the cuts on her hands.
Yeah.
You know, as she's looking at them, they just heal. Why? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No clue. And it's just that whole, like, other world.
Right.
Just
I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, up to this point, Sienna's been human.
Yeah.
So why are her hands healing all of a sudden? I don't know. Is God finally looking out for her? I don't know.
Like,
But she vows, I'm going to go rescue Gabby. So is Terrifier for Sienna going into the pits of hell?
right.
Like I don't want to watch that.
Yeah, I agree. Like,
I
does
don't know.
Art make his way down to hell then? And like,
I don't get it. Do you want your movie to be about Sienna or do you want your movie to be about Art? You can't do both because you have already through 2 movies now created Sienna's story as being one of righteousness, of being one of devotion, of being one of family oriented and proper and holier than that. Like that's what you've painted. Crown of thorns, healing flesh, strong will, like, and then you've got Art that pees on Santa's leg.
Right,
And shoves rats down a woman's throat. Like, you can't have. I don't know. They'll make.
You can't have our cake and eat it too. Like,
you can't have my cake.
Yeah.
Like, you'll make a part 4, and it'll make gobs of money because most of the movie is carnage and gore.
Yes,
and that's what the people show up for. That's why they go on. They're all going to be in Chicago this next August at Flashback Weekend. I just saw it was announced the other day. Celebrity guest for 2025. Robert Englund, who plays Freddy Krueger, will be there. Jeffrey Combs, you don't know who he is. Barbara Crampton, you don't know who she is. Damien Leone, the writer and director of these movies, will be there. David Howard Thornton will be there. Lauren Lavera, who plays Sienna, she'll be there. Elliot Fulham, who plays Jonathan, he'll be there. So, yeah, those 4 people are the most important 4 people, other than Victoria, which don't be surprised she'll show up too. But those 4 people are this franchise. They're all going to be in Chicago for a convention. You can go meet them, have pictures. It's going to cost you, but they're there. Like, they are there because of the carnage and gore. They're not there because people are like, you know what, I don't care for any of that stuff. But when you started talking about the pits of hell and demonic possession, you had me.
Yeah.
There's not enough of it in this movie to justify that being, but there's enough of it to turn you off. Let's grade it.
I'm giving it like a C- just because the end. I could give it a D, honestly. Because the end for me, like, what in the heck?
Yeah.
I don't like that.
It just got too heavy-handed. It was too, like I used the word earlier, elevated. It just, you were trying too hard. It's like you have a 5-paragraph essay and you wrote 4 paragraphs of just garbage. And then suddenly your conclusion was trying to tie something together that wasn't there. Like, it just doesn't make sense.
Like, it's like we're trying to make Sienna like a superhero.
Yeah.
Like, no. She's not been a superhero this whole time.
I mean, they've been trying. I mean, in part 2, even the Halloween costume they put her in with the golden, the golden top and bottoms and the wings, and it's like she looked great.
Yeah.
She looked like some sort of like Valhalla Valkyrie warrior in an Art the Clown movie. Like, it doesn't fit. It's like, is Thor going to be in the next movie? Like,
right.
What are we expecting?
Right.
Here? So I'm going to go with D as well. I talked pre-show. We talked about it a little bit we've covered the last 2. I am okay with gore. I love it. It's horror staple. I'm fine with it. I love seeing the creativity, but you got to string it together with a plot. I don't care how thin the plot is.
Yes.
There's got to be a reason why I'm still watching. And if the only reason the movie is on is because I'm waiting for the next gore scene, I'm tuned out.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that Friday the 13th movies have the best plot lines.
Right, but there's a little bit.
But because they don't, but you've established some characters. I know what's going to happen in the majority of them. Like, there's a formula involved. But the formula for those movies is who's going to be the survivor. There's no doubt in my mind it's Sienna. Like, that's why she's in this movie. She's going to be the final girl. She's going to be the survivor. we saw her from the 5 years later or 5 years ago. I'm like, oh, there's Sienna. She's gonna live because she's supposed to. That's okay.
Yeah.
Like, I'm okay with that. But give her something to do. What was she doing in this movie? Nothing. She went to her aunt and uncle's, and then she thought she saw Art again, and then now Art's back. Like, I gotta have some plot with my gore.
Yes.
I just do. And there's not enough here. And what is here is so confusing and convoluted that it doesn't fit. Again, I just saw less than an hour and a half ago. Like, oh, by the way, this movie is long, too.
Yeah,
it's over 2 hours long. This doesn't need to be a 2-hour movie. But yeah, in the same movie that I see Art the Clown pee on Santa's leg and shove rats down a woman's throat, I'm also getting some sort of religious subtext, and it doesn't make sense to me. Mm-hmm. So, I'm sure we'll cover part 4 if and when it comes out.
Yeah.
But,
oh yeah, we will. We have to.
Yeah, I guess so. I would ask, what character do you identify with in this movie? But it doesn't matter.
I don't want to identify with any of that.
Well, I don't either. Like, Cole for me, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I
honestly,
agree, like,
he's about the only redeeming character in this movie.
He is. I could see myself like fangirling, like. I love true crime stuff. Yeah. So like if I were to ever, meet someone, like I would like to think of myself, I wouldn't be insensitive, but also like on the inside, I'd be like, I just want to talk to them. Like the Menendez brothers, like, I just want to talk to them. Like, I am that person that like gets on Google and, this is another one of those, like, don't judge.
No, you're good.
Don't judge the world that's listening. But like, I look up, like, you can write serial killers in prison, right?
Yeah,
like,
you can.
I want to write one. I've not yet, but I would just like to write one. Like, what's going on in your head? Like, what were you thinking? Like, I just want to know. Why didn't we test Dahmer's brain? Like, that kind of stuff. I don't know. I love that stuff. So hopefully I would be a more sensitive, less annoying version of Mia. Right.
Okay. Fair enough. We didn't make it, by the way. Cole and Mia, we didn't make it through this film. It was my pick. So next week is your pick. What are we watching next week?
Okay. So I'm taking it back a couple years.
Ooh, nice.
Like to 1960.
Okay.
Alfred Hitchcock, Psycho.
When you said 60, I knew we were watching Psycho.
Yeah, when we went to California, we were able to like see the house that this was filmed at. But I've never seen the movie, so let's watch it.
Oh, it's such a good movie. It has a plot. It's probably why it's so well regarded. Big hit too. This movie had a budget, granted, we're talking $1960. $806 million. Okay. Or 806,000. I'm going to look this up. $806,000 in 1960 worth today. So basically it had a budget of $8 million. Okay. Oof. Which is still low in today's movies. Had a budget of $8 million. It made $50 million. Okay. $50 million. So $50 million. So it would be equivalent to $500 million today.
There we go.
Yeah. It's quite the return on investment.
Yeah.
I really enjoy this movie. I've also been, my wife and I were out at Universal Studios tour and saw this setup and was like, oh, that's cool, because it's the house, like it's yeah.
So I don't know, it's
a great film. Now keep in mind it's 1960.
Yes.
So go into it for the story. You're not going to be like, wow, I didn't think it'd be this gory. It's not. It's going to be subdued on that part, but it really is a very strong film. So. All right, that sounds great. It'll be a nice palate cleanser. So it's like, hey, how was your meal? How was your dessert? Pretty darn good. Social media wise, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. You guys can catch us on the shorts as we pump them out. Of course, if you're listening to this, we have YouTube. If you're watching this, we're on all your podcast platforms. But yeah, we will be back next week to talk about Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. So Happy New Year, everybody. Because this is our post-Christmas episode. I doubt we get another one out before the new year unless we really get after it. But
yeah, probably not.
Probably not. So for another episode of Education, I'm Mike.
And I'm Courtney.
And we'll see you guys next week with Psycho.
Bye.